Okay, so will be our first lesson in hypothesis testing. And my cat is joining us again. No, nope, nope, nope. All right. So, again, we have our original, or what they call the null hypothesis. And then we have new information or new claim coming up, and we're thinking, you know what? I think we have new information, so I think we have something that's significantly different. So we have three choices. We have, like I said before, a less than, greater than, or not equals to. So when you set up your alternative hypothesis, it makes a big difference knowing if you're going to be on the left side of the bell curve, the right side, or both sides. And it makes a big difference because of math. So we have to compare two numbers. We have to make sure we're looking at the two correct numbers. So this does not have any math in it just yet for these types of things. I think in your first homework assignment, it just asks you, is this going to be a left-tailed, right-tailed, or a two-tailed test? Because going back to the bell curve, we're looking at the probability area, probability of being significantly different, okay? And that falls in a very small area. So if we have a setup, and the setup is here, that's the population average from the null hypothesis equals 4.8. The claim is, and you read it out loud, because if you, I don't know, it just helps if you read it out loud. So read it out loud. The claim is that the average is less than 4.8. So what that means is that here, we're going to have, we're going to find a z-score, and it's going to be on the left side. This doesn't make any sense yet. I get it, but just hang with me. So less than is a left-tailed test. And it's a one-tailed test. So it's a one-tail left side. Okay, so less than left side. In this example, this has the average of the mean equals 75, and in the claim it says the mean is greater than 75. So when we get our test score and compare it, you're going to look on the right side. So this is a right-tailed. Oh, I can't write today. So right-tailed. So a greater than is a one tail, or they say a right tail. It's a right tail test with one tail. The only time, the only time that you have a two-tailed test, oops, get this a bit better, is if you have this symbol, okay? And that symbol is the equal sign with a little line through it, and that means exactly what it says. It means not equal to. So here, oh, it's a terrible drawing. We're going to have a chance of rejection here and a chance of rejection here. So this is a two-tailed test. So again, the only time you have something that says not equals to is when you have a two-tailed test. Okay, let me say it the other way. The only time you have a two-tailed test is when you have a not equals to. Now, it might not say not equals to, so the key word here is different. Oh, 1 second. Okay, I was slightly interrupted, so hopefully that didn't cause any pain for you, but it did for me. So We have three options for how to set up our alternate hypothesis claim here. So we have a less than, which will be a left-tailed test with one tail, greater than, which would be a right-tailed test with one tail. And then as I'm saying this, I'm not sharing my screen with you, so let me try that again. Here we go. Okay, here we are. If we have a less than, we have a left-tailed test with one tail. If we have a greater than, we have a right-tailed test and one tail. And then the only time we have a two-tailed test is if we have something that's different or not equal to the given mean, okay? When what you notice here is that these numbers are all the same. It's saying the average is 4.8, and here it says the average is less than 4.8. The average is 75, the average is greater than 75. The average is 44, the average is not 44. So these numbers will always be the same. Sometimes the hardest thing is writing out the hypothesis statement. So these were questions I stole from Newton a while back. Decided I really didn't like their questions, so that's why I made up my own homework questions on these. But these are kinds of things that come up. So getting the null and the alternate claims out of the question is the first battle. So here it says loaves of bread are on average 14 centimeters tall. Gail, a baker, claims that her bread height is not equal to 14 centimeters. Several of her customers do not believe her because I guess people just sit around bakeries and, argue with bakers. So she decides to do a hypothesis test. So first thing is we have to set out the claim. We set out the, we set out the null hypothesis, and then we set out our claim, our alternate. So it tells us that right in the first sentence that the average is 14. So average is 14. She's saying that her bread loaves, she didn't say they're greater than or less than, she just said that her bread height is not equal to 14. So we would, we have that. Okay. So that would be the null, and that would be the alternate claim. Okay. Here we have an example where it says the average pitch speed on a softball team is 59 miles per hour. Rosetta, a pitcher, claims that her pitch speed is greater than 59 miles per hour on average. Several of her teammates don't believe her because they're haters. So she decides to do a hypothesis test to shut them up, right? Because if I were a softball player, pitcher, I would do the same thing. So the null is saying that the average is 59. And her claim is that her speed is greater than 59. I'm not saying what it is, we're just saying it's greater than 59. So her speed would be greater than 59, okay? And for number 3, it says a hospital claims that the mean wait time for emergency room patients is at least 55 minutes. A group of researchers believe that this is not accurate and want to show that the mean wait time is less than 45 minutes, or 55 minutes, excuse me. So usually, back in my day, a lot of times we might have this being opposite of whatever claim was, but traditionally what I've seen more often is just that the average is something. So even though it says at least 55 minutes, it could be greater than, it's okay to put, that it's equal to 55 in the null hypothesis, in the old thing. Because this is generally what you end up seeing a lot, just the equal sign here. The different symbol will be here with the claim. So the claim is that these researchers say that they want to show that the mean time is less than 55 minutes. So I highly doubt it for emergency rooms, but 55. Oops, numbers are too close. So setting up our null and our alternate claim comes from the words. So hopefully you guys can read. Hopefully you know what less than or greater than means and not equals to means. So they tell us the number, that's what we're going to use in our null and our alternate claim. In the next video, we'll talk about how to find the critical value, and that's using table F. All right. Good job.